Welcome back to EtherLink AI Insights. I'm Alex, and today we're diving into something that's reshaping how enterprises actually build and deploy AI. We're talking about Agentic AI, and specifically how to make it production-ready with RAG, MCP, and the governance frameworks that enterprises desperately need. Sam, this feels like a watershed moment in enterprise AI, doesn't it?
Absolutely, Alex. The gap between what enterprises are trying to do and what they're actually capable of doing right now is massive. We're seeing organizations that deployed chatbots 5 years ago suddenly realize those systems don't actually solve their problems. Agentic AI is fundamentally different because these systems can reason, plan, and execute autonomously, not just respond to prompts.
Let's ground this for people who might be thinking, okay, but what's actually different? A traditional chatbot just reacts to what I ask it. An agentic AI system does something else entirely, right?
Right. Think about a customer support scenario. With a chatbot, you're limited to pattern matching and FAQ responses. With an agentic AI system, the agent perceives context from multiple sources: billing systems, order history, knowledge bases, sentiment analysis, reasons through the problem, executes actions like refunding or rescheduling, and escalates only when truly necessary. It's operating in a multi-source, multi-step workflow. That's the difference between reactive and proactive.
And the business case is compelling. Gartner's saying that 65% of enterprises plan to deploy agentic AI within 2 years. McKinsey is reporting that organizations using multi-agent systems see 35 to 50% faster task completion. Those aren't trivial numbers.
They're not. And here's what's critical. Those gains aren't just about speed. Organizations are seeing 25% cost reductions in operational workflows. But, and this is a big but, 78% of enterprises are struggling with production readiness and governance. Speed and cost don't matter if your system hallucinates financial data or violates compliance rules.
Which brings us to RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation. Why is this foundational for enterprise agents? Can't we just use a large language model and call it done?
No, and that's actually the hard lesson many enterprises are learning right now. LLMs alone generate hallucinations and work with outdated training data. RAG grounds agents in real, current, enterprise-specific data: your documents, policies, customer records, APIs. Forrester found that RAG implementations reduce hallucination rates by 87% compared to fine-tuning alone. In finance, healthcare, or legal contexts, that's not a nice-to-have. That's existential.
So RAG isn't an optimization. It's a requirement for enterprises that care about accuracy and compliance. How does the architecture actually work when you're building an agent that uses RAG?
There are 4 main pieces. First, an ingestion pipeline that continuously indexes documents, APIs, and real-time data into vector databases like Pinecone or Weaviate. Second, a retrieval strategy that combines semantic similarity with traditional ranking. You're not just throwing everything at the LLM. Third, you integrate RAG as a tool the agent can invoke. The agent decides when to retrieve and what to retrieve, which gives it flexibility. And fourth, you manage context carefully so you don't bloat the token window and degrade reasoning.
That fourth point is subtle but important. You're not just stuffing all the data you have into the prompt. You're being strategic about what context the agent actually needs.
Exactly. One of the biggest mistakes I see is enterprises that treat RAG like a jukebox. Give me all the relevant documents. That creates noise, confusion, and expensive API calls. The best RAG systems are lean and purposeful. The agent retrieves, then reasons with exactly what it needs.
All right, so RAG is the knowledge layer. But enterprises are also talking about MCP, Model Context Protocol. What is that, and why does it matter for production systems?
MCP is essentially a standardization layer for how agents connect to external tools and services. Instead of every agent implementation writing custom integrations with your CRM, your data warehouse, your email system, MCP defines a protocol for those connections. It's like saying, here's the standard interface for agents to interact with our infrastructure.
So it reduces fragmentation. Instead of every agent team inventing their own way to talk to systems, there's a common language.
Precisely. And in an enterprise context, that's powerful. It means you can swap out agents, combine multiple agents and workflows, and maintain consistency. MCP servers act as intermediaries. They authenticate, validate, route actions. You get governance, observability, and security built into the architecture from the start, not bolted on later.
Which leads us to multi-agent orchestration. Why would an enterprise need multiple agents instead of just one superagent?
Because real enterprise workflows aren't monolithic. Think about a lead generation workflow. One agent might research market data, another might qualify leads, a third might draft proposals, and a fourth might handle nurturing sequences. Each agent has specialized knowledge and tools. Orchestrating them, routing work, managing handoffs, ensuring consistency, that's where the complexity and the value actually live.
And if you're coordinating multiple agents, you need ways to evaluate whether the whole system is actually working. That's where production evaluation comes in, right?
Absolutely. Enterprises can't just launch agents and hope. You need frameworks that measure accuracy, compliance, cost, latency, and user satisfaction. In regulated industries, you also need audit trails and explainability. Evaluation frameworks tell you whether your agents are meeting production standards and where they're failing.
And then there's the EU AI Act. Enterprises operating in Europe or serving European customers need to think about compliance from day one. How does that shape Agentic AI design?
The EU AI Act imposes requirements around high-risk AI systems, transparency, human oversight, documentation, testing. If your agent is making decisions that affect people's credit, employment, or safety, you're in a high-risk category. That means you need to document your training data, your evaluation processes, how you handle errors, and how humans can intervene. It's not a checkbox exercise. It requires architectural decisions up front.
So you can't retrofit compliance. You have to build it into the system from the beginning.
Right. And honestly, even if you're not in Europe, compliance thinking is becoming table stakes. Customers want to know their data is being handled responsibly. Regulators are watching. Building transparent, auditable agentic AI systems isn't just smart governance, it's competitive advantage.
Let me ask the practical question. If I'm an enterprise and I'm thinking about deploying Agentic AI in 2025, where do I start?
Start with a clear business problem. Not, can we deploy agents, but which workflow would an agent actually improve? Then audit your data. Do you have quality, accessible data that an agent could use? Then think about governance up front. What does success look like? How will you measure it? Who's responsible for oversight? Those decisions shape everything else.
And you're not building this in isolation. You're thinking about RAG architectures, MCP integrations, multi-agent coordination, compliance frameworks, all together.
Exactly. The enterprises that are going to succeed with Agentic AI are the ones that see it as a systems problem, not a technology problem. They're building teams that span product, engineering, data, compliance, and operations. They're starting small, measuring relentlessly, and scaling thoughtfully.
This is the moment where Agentic AI stops being a research topic and becomes a business imperative. If you want to dive deeper into RAG architectures, MCP server design, multi-agent orchestration patterns, and production evaluation frameworks, the full article is on etherlink.ai. We've covered a lot of ground today, Sam. Thanks for breaking this down.
Thanks, Alex. The enterprise AI landscape is moving fast, and Agentic AI is the next frontier. Organizations that move thoughtfully now will have massive advantages in 2026 and beyond.
That's it for this episode of EtherLink AI Insights. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week with more on the future of enterprise AI.